My next task is to introduce someone who needs no introduction, but we will provide one anyway. Mohammed Qurban, otherwise known as Qurban Haqjo, has a long history of building the private sector. We first came in contact with Mr. Haqjo when he was a major part of the commission to reestablish what the government Chamber of Commerce was at that time, also called the Afghanistan Chamber of Commerce and Industries, but an enormous bureaucracy wrought with crony capitalism and low-interest loans to friends, i.e. meaning no-interest loans to friends, meaning government and industry sharing in their so-called private sector operations. The new chamber growing at that, being born at that time with the assistance of the Afghan-American Chamber of Commerce and the precursor organization. We learned a lot about Mr. Haqjo, and he became the founding president of the Afghanistan Chamber of Commerce and Industries, and built it wonderfully and to where it is today, so that when Atikullah Nusrat Sahib, he took over, he had a great organization there, and he's been building it. The bottom line is, we really appreciate the contributions that Mr. Haqjo has made to the private sector, to Afghanistan. Now, he is the current president of the Afghanistan Investment Support Agency, which is absolutely crucial to everything that we're doing here today. And he inherited a situation which, unlike at its founding, was the point of entry for businesses coming to Afghanistan, where Excellency Noor Dilawari, who I might add is now on the board of directors of the Afghan-American Chamber of Commerce, he founded an organization that was truly one-stop shop. He coined the phrase one-stop shop. And it was a place where you could go get a business license in 24 hours, 48 hours. It was terrific. Well, over time, when he left, things changed. Kabir has come back, and with the new unity government has been reforming this organization. So without further ado, AISA President Qurban Haqjo.
Thank you, Dan, for a nice introduction. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, wa bihi nasta'in, wa salatu wa salam ala Sayyidina Mawlana Muhammadin wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. I want to greet you with the Islamic greetings. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace and blessings be upon all of you. Your Excellencies, my dear friend, Dr. Mohammed, Excellency Deputy Minister of Ministry of Mine, Ibrahim Saib, Honorable Don Redder, Chairman Lutfi, Excellency Dilawari Saib, Excellency Jawandai Saib, my dear colleague and friend Atiq Nasrat, Qadir Bahman, and distinguished businesses from Afghanistan, the businesswomen. I'm glad to see them. They are sitting here, and as well as the U.S. businesses and from the Northern America, from Canada. I know a few people coming from there. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really honored to be here. Can you please put since I'm not going to have a speech, I'm going to go through my presentation. Do you have that? Anyway, it's really an honor for me to be here and present you the Afghanistan's business and investment opportunities. That's all we are here. It's about how we can start our business in Afghanistan with Afghans, and how we can attract U.S. businesses to do business in Afghanistan, and how we can create kind of mutual relationship, business ties and relationship between with the America. We prepared a presentation. It is 30 slides. Since it has given me only 20 minutes, I will stick to the time, so I will talk on each slide less than 1 minute. Anyway, I think we don't have that. Anyway, my presentation is divided in 4 parts. The first one is look of Afghanistan situations, economic outlooks. And the second one is the question that you will ask us, why I have to invest in Afghanistan, considering the situation, the risk, and the problems as existent there that you are aware of them. Why I have to invest in Afghanistan? What is the best reason? How you can convince me? So there is, we elaborate a little bit on those reasons. We listed those reasons that why you have to do business in Afghanistan. We shouldn't forget that being an investor or businessman, the more you take risk, the more you will have return. It is no businesses without risk, but it's how to mitigate the risk. It's the matter of the business management. The third part would be exploring the key investment sectors, which already mentioned in thoughts and speeches from my colleagues, Atiq Nasrat and His Excellency Dr. Mohammed. But I'm going to also let a little bit elaborate it in different way, that prioritize it in the way that you are interested in the U.S. investors and businesses. And as well as you might also hear about these sectors today's and also tomorrow's panels in detail, but just keep in mind those, and then you can also have questions. And the fourth part is about the AISA, because once you decided to come and invest in Afghanistan, it's very important how you can keep and get your foot in Afghanistan. So your entry point, as Honorable Don Ritter mentioned it, is this AISA. So we are there to support you from A to Z, from getting the information, supporting to find any counterparts, business partners, joint ventures, opportunities, and then getting your license and getting supports by doing your business and all stages in terms of getting any infrastructures like energy, how to get land, how to access to the market, and finally, it's very important that we are not only supporting you to get in Afghanistan, also we are supporting to how to exit from Afghanistan. It's very important to show to investors that the way you get easy in the market, and then you can close your business and get it out from there, as also that we are supporting to have a smoothly. So we don't have.
It's currently being put into the computer.
Okay, so let me. I will just in past 14 years we have a very good GDP growth rate. It's average 9.7% and 10%. Annually, it shows the success of our economic growth, but unfortunately, in the past 2 years, it declined by 2%. That's the reason that you know. But we are working very hard to get back on track and move forward with the current situations. And then the trade value of Afghanistan is over $10 billion. The 95% of these figures are imported goods. The majority of goods we are importing is food, beverages, oil, construction materials. That means that there's a lot of import substitutions opportunity to produce in Afghanistan and sell and then market, and not only for Afghan market, as well as you can export to because of the geographical situation of Afghanistan to the Central Asia and South Asia countries. And then I'm just going through my slides.
I want to excuse the fact that somehow Kabir's excellent presentation, which won him the opening keynote for the. Okay.
All right. Okay. Thank you. So I was kind of. Anyway, so let's. I think you can go because I have we lost a little bit my time. So next slide. So this is the GDP growth that you can see. It goes up and down. Can you go next slide? Go ahead and next slide, please. This is the import volume from 2014. Why I put there that you can see that we are importing almost everything which we have potential to produce domestically. That means that there's huge potential for import substitutions. Next slide. And this is the countries that are importing. The majority of them are our neighboring countries, Pakistan, Iran, China, India. So next slide. And this is the exports. Our export products is dominated by agriculture. So still we are very dominated by this sector, but there's huge potential to move beyond this agriculture, especially when it comes with the raw materials, the value addition of the minerals. Next slide. This is the figures of 14 years investment. 10.5 billion US$ have been invested based on the AISA's data. These are the physical, so-called the numbers that we have registered, but the actual investment is way beyond of that. But now we are conducting a survey to really get the real picture of the investment, because there are investors that they registered the investment, the initial capital they put on the paper is very low. When it comes, for instance, the Etisalat, they written, for instance, $100 million, but actually they invested more than $500 million. So that means there's the actual investment is much higher, but that's but it is the first sector is construction, followed by services, mining, and manufacturing. Next slide. So being a landlocked country is very important. The dry ports. Afghanistan has no dry ports, which are commercially active while conducting trade with Central Asia countries, South Asia countries, China, and Iran. You can see all these ports. Next slide. Industrial parks. These are the houses for manufacturing in Afghanistan. We have 6 fully industrial parks currently. And within 5 years, we are going to build 11 more industrial parks across the country. There you can get land. We are offer land for new investments. And recently we decided to give women businesses 20 to 50% of the lands for the women businesses, for youngs and for the innovative ideas to really support them. And the next slide is this is the success stories of enabling environment, how we reform the business and investment climate in the country. If you see Afghanistan in 2 areas, starting a business and paying taxes, in the Central Asia countries, we are in the first position. So within 4 hours, you can get your license, within 4 hours. And paying taxes as well, we improved a lot. And getting credit, we are in the position of 3. So globally, we are in the 24th ranked 24th by starting a business. So you can see the multinational companies operating in Afghanistan, producing and distributing and providing services in Afghanistan. This is the success stories. Next slide. Now I'm coming to my second part. Why invest in Afghanistan? This is the toughest question, and this is really a tough job for me as a head of AISA, Afghanistan Investment Support Agency, to come here in the United States and convince you to come and invest in Afghanistan. So definitely we have some reasons. So I'm going to list a few of them. Can you go? First, significant geographical position. You know that Afghanistan is, as President Ghani mentions, it is a land bridge. It's a roundabout of the region. Central Asia, South Asia, China, and East and Far East. And market economy, you know that based on our Constitution, Article 10, the market economy is the driver of our economy. That's why the private sector did a great job in past 14 years. And that pushes us to bring more reform. And unprecedented economic growth that I mentioned in past 14 years. Flexible tax and duty regime. We are very flexible with this regards. Next slide. Utilization of preferential trade agreements. You know, Afghanistan has these agreements with India, with Europe, with United States. Whatever you are producing in Afghanistan, you can export zero tariffs to those markets. So being Americans, investing in Afghanistan, producing in Afghanistan, you can export your products to Chinese market, to Europe, to America, to India, without paying any taxes. This is the best reason that for investors that they are seeking for efficiency. And then available skilled labor, it's one of the other reasons. Fortunately, in past 14 years, there is a lot of capacity building, and we have available there. 100% foreign ownership. There is no need for you have any Afghan partners. You can invest 100% on your own name. No restriction on profit repatriation. You can get your repatriation anytime outside of the country. 20% flat rate corporate tax. Increased market demand, 30 million, and plus the region that you can export. Zero tariffs on import of machineries. 1% duty on import of raw materials. Indefinite carry forward of losses. This is very important for investors, that you can carry forward your losses and as well as your depreciation. Next slide. As Dr. Mohammed mentioned in Atik Nasra, there's strong commitment from government to really reform more the legal framework and the environment. We do have the best international based and standards and investment laws and business laws that I listed there. This is you can see that in all areas of doing business. And Dispute Resolution Center recently opened it within the Chamber of Commerce. This is that you can take your cases and resolve it and get solve out of the governmental court system. That's the international, based on international standards. And as well as tomorrow we are going to open the Business Integrity Initiative in Afghanistan. That is taking care for how we can bring more social responsibilities within the businesses to paying taxes, to doing good and fair businesses, and considering the rights of consumers. And these are the things that we are undertaking. Next slide. So foreigners can lease real estates for 90 years. So you can lease, but you cannot buy, of course. But we try to get that also. But unfortunately, 90 years also is a huge number. We have 8 airports. 4 of them are international. The Emirates is flying, Turkish Airlines, Indian Airlines, alongside the other domestic and regional airlines. We have bilateral and multilateral trade agreements, which APTA, ICOTA, SAFTA, which facilitates a lot of opportunities for the movement of goods and passengers and services in the region. Membership of TIR, it's very important things because being a landlocked country, you have to show the way that how you can transport your goods from Afghanistan to Europe. You are member of International Route and Transport Union under regime of TIR. You can export your goods or import your goods from Afghanistan and from the region to Afghanistan, and sealed without any other restrictions under one regime. And soon Afghanistan will become the WTO membership. It's finalized technically as well as politically, and it would be signed. And that shows WTO membership is not something that you just will be ignored. It's something very really serious issues, because becoming a WTO member, you have to fulfill a lot of requirements and inquiries, and that you have to meet the international standards in terms of the legal framework and as well as your management of doing business. And beside that, we have membership of the major international associations and councils like SAARC, Central Asia and Regional Economic Cooperation, ECO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, so on. And now I'm coming to the third part, which is the key sectors that we are offering best opportunity for investment. And I put the mining here first because might be the US investors are more interested in mining. So you know that Afghanistan is a very rich country in terms of the mineral resources, and 1 trillion was estimated by US Geological Survey, and by Afghans 3 trillion. It is just 30% of the Afghan land, but we don't know how much is it, but so far it is. We have the best resources, high quality lithium, iron, ore, coal, salt, sulfur, zinc, copper, petroleum, natural gas, marbles, among the others. So I'm glad that tomorrow there is a special panel to discussing on this, and a good friend of mine, Shahab Saib, is here, and Deputy Minister of Mine. He's going to explore a lot further on these mines potentials in Afghanistan. And the next sector is energy. You know, Afghanistan, we are a shortage of energy, not Afghanistan as well as all South Asian countries. Can we go to the next slide, please? But the increasing demand for energy in Afghanistan and South Asia countries, Afghanistan can be a hub for producing energy. Afghanistan has the potential for producing more than 23,000 megawatt hydropower annually, whereas we produce currently only 600 megawatt. That's 20% of the total energy consumption in Afghanistan. 80% are imported currently from Central Asia countries and Iran. So beside the other source of the energy production, like gas-fired, coal, solar, wind, so bio, but we have a lot of business opportunities, as well as there are all regional projects that not only you can produce on the production, that you can produce on facilitation of the transmissions and transportation of energy in Afghanistan, like CASA 1000, the TAPI mentioned it, the 2TAP, the ATGP, the Afghan-Tajikistan gas pipeline. These are the potential multinational projects which already the fund is available, and they are going to be released. And can we go to the next slide? And this in airfields. In past 14 years, there's huge investment conducted in the air bases, where the military bases were operating from NATO and US. And we have 8 airfields, which now we are planning to commercialize it. And tomorrow there is a special panel we'll discuss more on this. Why I'm putting this here, because these 3 of them are on the pipeline now, ready to get new investment, Balkh, Herat, and Kandahar. And this is the first-class infrastructure with the cold storages, offices, spaces, dormitories, water supply, and all in security, and best infrastructure they have. So I'm not going to talk too much on this because tomorrow there is going to be a special panel on it. Next slide. And the services, I want to talk on the subsectors like information technology. You know, Afghanistan, so far, we did a lot success story. We have success stories in the IT sector. Total investment is more than $2 billion, and connecting 23 provinces through fiber optics. This is very important. And 3G services available in the country, in TV digitalization, e-commerce, and 20 million of mobile subscribers is there. There's huge potential to connecting furthermore the Central Asians to China, to India, and Afghanistan through to fiber optics. That's the vision of Afghanistan, to becoming a IT hub in the region. And also, the next sector is health services. Currently, we are annually more than $300 million is spent for the treatment outside of the country, in India and Pakistan, Iran, and elsewhere. That means you can invest in the healthcare in Afghanistan, building best class or a good quality of hospitals, clinics, and as well as we are importing more than $800 million pharmaceutical products annually. That means there's huge potential to invest in this sector. Can you go to the next slide? Infrastructure. When we are talking about infrastructure, there are two kinds of infrastructure. One is the national infrastructure that Afghanistan is needed. Dr. Mohammed mentioned it, more than 7,000 kilometers of roads are asphalted. But we need more than 120,000 kilometers if you really want to reach that potential to connect all our suburbs with our provinces and the neighboring countries. So, and as well as railroads, the tunnels. So you can see the list of all these national projects and as well as regional projects. These are the next slide is the next part is the national roads, the international projects, and the care corridors, which 3 of them go through Afghanistan, 6 of the care corridors. So these are the projects that is very vibrant for contracting for the construction companies. Next slide. So we talked about banking industry. Besides, we do have currently more than 16 active banks, and 3 of them are public banks, and the rest is private, and 3 are the foreign banks branches in Afghanistan. So you can see the systems that they are providing, loans, and there is huge potential for long-term loans, for SMEs, for manufacturing, for minings, and for housing. And that's the area that we can work on it. And insurance, unfortunately, we have only 4 companies that they are providing insurance services, and that's that the cost is high. But there's huge demand for insurance. The government is ready to somehow work with the legislations how we can work on it to obligate some areas of insurance, for instance, the health and the manufacturings, buildings, and for the fire or something, natural disasters. But we have MEGA from World Bank available for those investors they are interested. Already the Roshan and ETN is insured by the MEGA from World Bank. They are paying 2% of the total capital of the investment annually. So that's insured, that's the political insurance for if something happens in the country, and they will be insured. And the next sector which I'm going to talk is there's a project, or as a plan to how consolidate the public procurement. Annually, more than $4 billion is the public procurement in Afghanistan. And in past, this procurement was not very sophisticated. Now, President Ghani establishing and building this new entity for procurement, national procurement, they want to encourage mass production of food supply in the the as well as prefabrication of construction in order to facilitate and accelerate ending the projects of construction projects. So there's a huge potential for those investors. They want to really come and join this $4 billion demand for public procurement, and that's something that our private sector, Afghan private sector, can joint venture with you to bring know-how and your financial capacity with the local capacity they have on the ground to do this. So pharmaceutical products as well is huge potential for the supply for the public demand. Next slide is investment in construction. When we're talking about the construction, it's going on. You know, there's a lot of new opportunities which expands the road networks, the housing, the roads, dams, bridges, buildings, affordable houses, residential cities. There's a lot opportunities that so later on will be talk on this. And also the construction materials. That is something that you can invest in Afghanistan. We are importing currently, for instance, cement. Can we go to the next slide? Cement annually our demand is 20 million tons, but we are importing more than 11 million tons from Pakistan, Iran. So that but we have huge mountains of the natural resources, raw materials of these cements that you can only not only produce for the domestic production supply. You can export to the Central Asia, to China. China is going to be the largest importer of cement. So it is right in our neighborhood. So wood, steel, bricks, sanitary fixtures, roof, tiles, flooring, chemical, joint materials, electrical cables, light fixtures, pump, all these construction materials are needed, and we do have opportunity to produce domestically. Next slide. Industrial services. We have 18 subsectors that we can produce in Afghanistan and become self-sufficient. All these 18 are listed here. Food and beverages, dairy products, leather and footwear, poultry, cotton, garments, iron, knitting, steel, electronics appliances, home appliances, plastics materials, printing, PVC pipes, handicrafts, carpets, detergents. So all these you can see we can produce, and there's potential to be produced domestically, not only for the current demand as well as to export to the Central Asia countries and beyond that. These are import substitutions. The next slide, I will be done. Just 5 minutes. This is the last 2-3 slides. And industry sectors going on in the export-oriented industries. This is very important. Traditionally we are exporting these things, but beside that, there's a lot of potentials that you can produce more with good quality that could match the international standards. Currently, the packaging, is not proper in the way that they designed, and there is huge potential for this. Can you go to the next slide? So agriculture sector as well has huge potential, and we have a panel, so we'll be talking on this. For instance, only in packaging, we annually need more than 100 million cartons. It's huge for the packaging. So we are importing from Pakistan these cartons. So there's huge potential for to build these facilities in Afghanistan to address the current demand in domestically as well. Can we go to the, now I'm going to the fourth part, which is the final and the last but not least, is how you to get your foot in Afghanistan. That's AISA, that is the AICC. That's through the ACCI, Afghanistan Chamber of Commerce, the builder associations. So we are here to support you. We are taking care for the policies. We are exploring the current policies, and we are working how we can improve the current situation, how we really take care for your concerns, so for your right interest in our reform process. And then we want to protect your investment. We are currently working on a package that incentivize the market, so kind of duty-free tax exemptions, and easy access to land, all these kind of incentive packages. And then issuing a license, as I mentioned, it's just for within 4 hours, you will get your license. There's no need for another headaches. So the AISA is there to do so. Industrial park is managed by AISA. We give you land, so that if you want to require land for your manufacturing, for your building, so we are there to support you. I would urge you to, since that's the goal of this kind of matchmaking conferences, to get know each other. The businesses from US and Afghans, they came here. I think you can talk later on with each other and how you can and jointly invest in Afghanistan, and we are there to support you and get you there and make you successful. Thank you very much for your attention, and God bless Afghanistan, God bless America, and God bless all the world. Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank you, excuse the problems that we had with your presentation, but I want to thank you for an excellent presentation, and I think we're going to, first of all, we're going to put this on our website for sure, but I also think we might do a special mailing of a package of this material. Let me ask you a question that a lot of Americans ask us, and that we as business people there are concerned as well. The new unity government has pledged reforms in economic governance, and that covers a pretty wide range of things. But for example, we know that Dr. Kayumi, former president of San Jose State University, that he has taken on a commission for procurement reform. And could you comment on the state of economic starting with procurement reform? Because a lot of times companies have to get paid. We see a great deal of what we call on-budget budgeting by the Asian Development Bank, by USAID. And so things are happening not through AISA in many ways in terms of procurement, but they're happening through the ministries. And there has been difficulty in that regard. Could you tell us where the new unity government is going with regard to economic governance issues that involve ministerial interaction with the business community?
Thank you, John. It's really a very important question. Thanks for that. With regards of the national procurement, as Dr. Mohammed mentioned, the first thing President Ghani addressed was that, because there was a lot of corruption in it, and fortunately they centralized the way that first that everybody get information from one hand with regards of the public procurement. And that's why they established the Afghanistan National Procurement Authority, that has a secretariat. Mr. Yama is in charge of that, and it's supervised by a commission headed by President Ghani and Dr. Abdullah, the Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Finance are a member of that. So every week they spend 3 hours to review all the documents, and they endorse those prepared documents and biddings. So this, and all of them is very key. They want to bring it electrify this process, and that secretariat is working on it, and they have a website currently. So you can go and search on Google. You can find the Afghanistan National Procurement Authority. Then you can register your company without paying any fee. You will be registered, and then any information with regards of the biddings will be come to your email box. With regards of the Dr. Qayyumi, Dr. Qayyumi is done. Dr. Qayyumi is now working on a very important project currently, which is the Afghanistan National Infrastructure Development Strategy Plan. And that's where that take care for all the infrastructure development in the country, but the roads, the rails, the dry ports, the customs, the airfields, all these things. So they want to have a comprehensive strategy and develop all them based on the priority of the importance for the developing the economy in a sustainable way. That's what Dr. Qayyumi is doing. Thank you very much. And do you have any other question? No. So I brought a lot of my my cards. So I'm going to, during the one-on-one, give you this, and I love to be interacting with you if you want to further question.
Yes. As mentioned, we will hold these one-on-one networking sessions, which have proved to be very popular over the years, and Mr. Haqjo will hold a table. I can say this, the governance issues, Mr. Haqjo, Kabir, the economic governance issues are absolutely essential to your success, AISA's success, Afghanistan's success. We, all foreign countries, look upon that two key issues. Is it going to be safe? And how will we face corruption? Because what you said up there, Afghanistan has a mountain of investment opportunity. And we all see it, we all know it, businesses know it. We need to have that reform that goes along with the opportunity. And if that's the case, Afghanistan will be a brilliant nation. It's the only nation in that region that has modernity. When you come right down to it, you know, Afghanistan, it's backward, but look at the progress since 2002 in bringing modern social, economic, and political structures. You don't have that in a country like Uzbekistan. It's a kleptocracy to some extent. You don't have that in Pakistan. But so this potential that we all see is so dependent on the new unity government going forward with its reform agenda.